My new plugin has a problem. It's full of birds. I'm Heinbach and it's good to have you back. This is Lines, my new plugin with audio thing. It does everything you hear in this track except acoustic drums and Rhodes, though those are also processed by it. It's both a complex effect and a feedback-based synthesizer. If you know a bit about plugin development, you will know that this can be a problem. If you don't, I'm gonna tell you about that in a bit. But first, let me show you what it can do. You can run stuff into it, like you do in any effect unit. You can use it on its own to create rhythmic patterns, bass lines, noisy soundscapes, or abstract drones. But it shines truly when you do both. That makes it as rare and wonderful and beautifully odd as the unit it's based on, the Axel Line Simulator. I've got a video on this, so either pause now, watch it, and then come back here or watch it right after this. It's fun. But why is it a problem that lines can do all of these things at once? Well, your digital audio workstation likes to separate plugins into effects and instruments. They get their own treatment, their own kind of tracks, and every DAW treats them a little bit different. But in all my explorations of musical and non-musical equipment, I cross that border regularly. A phaser becomes a drum machine, an amplifier becomes a synthesizer, and a telephone line simulator becomes an instrument. The Axel only truly blew my mind when I used it in a way it was absolutely not intended to be used, by employing feedback patching. Then it becomes a beautiful genre-crossing instrument. And when we applied that technique to the plugin, the same thing happened with lines. Since the beauty of lines lies in the combination of the internal sound generators, the external input, and the feedback, it would not have made sense to divide it into an effect and an instrument, like I did, for example, with Fluss, my app with Brambus. There it was totally sensible to have a processor and an instrument version. AudioThing and me decided lines would be an effect, but we added all the features that I miss from the original to make it music inside the effect itself. On the top left, we've got the pulse sequencer. This is useful for creating rhythms, pinging the whole system, and it becomes its own source of noise. If we up the rate to something like this, I love using this as a rhythm source, and it goes further than what was on the original, because there was just a single pulse. So let's set this to sync. It's now synced with Ableton. I can now add noise. It's always useful to have noise, but even more so if you add modulation to it, using the trip section down here. Also synced. Change a different shape here. Oh, we got a little groove going on. Here we've got a frequency shifter that will shift a signal up or down by a certain amount of hertz. Unlike a pitch shifter, this is not harmonic. It's way more clangorous and alien, which is part of the charm. Here's my clean tone. Now let's shift that down. Or up. And if we add leakage, which is a feature unique to the Axel because it puts the original signal back into the circuit, can hear how it now moves in the stereo field as it mixes the original signal with the frequency shifted signal. This becomes especially useful if we add feedback. But before we do that, let's check if the limiter is on. Yes, it is, because that was the thing that made the original sound so good. Even in the most crazy feedback, it would always be controlled. The limiter would pull it down. So, turn this on if you experiment with feedback. Now the signal is routed all the way back into the input. Too much, too much, too much, too much. Let's turn our pulse sequencer back on. And you can hear it creates drums as it pings the whole system. Add the noise in. Of course we can overdo it and use the low-pass filter to shape the feedback. Turn down leakage. We get these deep basses. Now let's drive it a bit. We've got two kinds of distortion, second and third order. So let's do first, second. This just sounds so good. I spent hours listening to what temperature this works best at, because this is a diode distortion and we modeled it down to the components. So there's temperature variations in here. I picked the one where it sounds most like the original and also the best to me. And then I thought, oh, but when it drifts, it sounds lovely. So there's a little bit of temperature drift. If you don't want that, you can turn it off here, but I find it adds a lot of life. You can flip the phase of the second one, which gives very unpredictable results, especially if the feedback is high. Okay, let's modulate it. Can you hear that in the stereo field? How it's crackling up? Pull it down. There's so much you can do if you just adjust everything right. There's worlds in here. You can go completely bonkers or you can have it very subtle. But that's not all. We've got jitter, which is basically ring modulation that is added to the signal. I give you jitter. You can adjust the frequency here. And the amount here with degree. Oof. Yeah. Bassline and chirpy bird at the same time. Come on. Now we can run everything to a bandpass filter, which is supposed to emulate, a telephone effect. 4 different ones. The last one sounds the most lo-fi, but we can change the width. And then unforeseen resonances by adding resonance to high and low pass part of the filter. Especially fun on touch devices are the momentary hits here. Phase, amp, and dropout. Let's try this with no filters. This is is live so much fun. Phase is the most unpredictable, but very nice in high feedback situations. So let's try. Oh, okay. I myself am having so much fun with this, and I think you can see that. You can achieve a lot with just tiny variations. Where do I add volume? Where do I add distortion? Where filter? Where do I add feedback? And that is a bit complex. It's definitely advanced level of sound production. So I made a bunch of presets for you, so you can just start out and you don't even have to touch anything to get some cool sounding effects. I made 3 categories: basic effects, rhythms, and scapes. But just because something is in the scapes category doesn't mean you should not run an audio signal into it. For AudioThing and me, Lines is the culmination of all these years making plugins together. It is very ambitious, it's complex, but if you have a shard of the joy of exploration in you, I'm sure you will find something in there that goes beyond what we thought this could be. It is a blank canvas for your inspiration, and I'm happy that this is out in the world, so it doesn't feel like I'm this dragon hoarding all this super rare gear in my studio only for myself. Lines is out now on intro price for just 39 euros on AAX, VST, AU, Clap, and it's compatible with Linux, and 12.99 on iOS. That price goes up to 69 euros, respectively 19.99 euro after 2 weeks. If you already own the full Heinpack bundle, you will get 50% off of the regular price. And if you're my Patreon, there's a discount code there that gives you another 20% off. If you have any more questions or comments or wishes for further plugins, put them in the comments below. But no tech support done down here. Therefore, you must contact AudioThing support. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye.